Good morning and welcome to Errol's Ion. I'm your host, Alan Wozni, and joining me for the 10th episode of Errol's Ion is Errol Vas. Errol, I think it's good evening for you, isn't it?
Yes, it's good evening. How are you doing, Alan?
Terrific. And 10 episodes, it's hard to believe. I mean, we started this, you're basically, we weren't even doing video in the first ones, were we?
No, we
We
weren't.
migrated.
I think we did a video the first one, yeah, and the rest we did some audio, but yeah, here we are. Here we are on video.
Well, and just for the benefit of the two listeners, Errol's got a studio set up. He's got like monitors. I mean, this is incredible. You went from a guy sitting in headphones to, your little cheap headphones to a studio. So
Yeah.
I have to thank the Errol's Ion production studios, Errol Voss Marketing for this.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. I put it up on the screen.
Okay, so Errol, what's our Ion today? What's the topic?
Yeah. So the topic of today is how building a brand can protect your business.
All right. So, I mean, the obvious question is, why is this important? Because I know we've talked in the past about reputation. So now you work with a lot of businesses. And so why is this important?
Well, it's important for so many businesses in so many different industries. And the main importance of why to build a brand is it protects you against competitors. And the main reasons why building a brand can protect you is that it protects you against competitors, it protects you against market fluctuations, and it protects you from platform changes. So we can dive into all three, and maybe I'll give an example to explain.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's one thing to talk about. We talked in past episode about the brands out there, but now I think this is important, particularly like platform changes, because they've changed over the years. I mean, you're young, Errol. Things like this stuff didn't exist when I grew up. It was, the internet didn't really grow up. I grew up in the internet. You grew up with the internet. I grew up with the non-internet. So it's interesting. So in a very short period of time, in a generation, you kids your age or kids, how old? You're like 30, right?
Yeah, I'm turning 31 pretty soon next week. So,
but it's incredible. How many platforms have you seen changed in your sort of adult life, right? The last 15 years or whatever.
Yeah. There's been a lot of platform changes, and a lot of platforms come and go, right? Sorry, I had to adjust that there. Yeah, so a lot of platforms come and go. There's been a lot of platform changes, right? So I'll give you an example, Alan, of why building a brand can really protect your company. So
yeah, okay.
a really good example that I like to use is e-commerce. Think about people in the e-commerce space, right? So, example, let's say you're selling plush animals on LinkedIn, right? Or sorry, on LinkedIn, you're selling plush animals on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Now, Amazon, their goal is to get items for as cheap as possible to their customers, right? They want to have the best prices always. So for Amazon, selling, it's a race to the bottom in terms of pricing, right? You have to have really low pricing to compete.
That's right.
Yeah. At the same time, advertising costs on Amazon and pretty much any other platform has been rising steadily, right? So you have to lower your prices and you're paying more and more for advertising. And so that's a recipe for reduced profits, right?
Yeah.
So profit margins for these e-commerce sellers are shrinking and shrinking. Now I use plush animals as an example. So do you know a brand of plush animals called TY Beanie Babies?
Well, I do remember. Actually, I remember the symbol. Even their T, I think it's a red and white
Yeah.
kind of symbol.
Yeah, it's like a little red heart
Yeah.
paper that's attached to the plush animal. So all they did is they put this little piece of paper, little red heart, and wrote TY on it, and became iconic. They built their brand that way. So while every other plush animal seller is doing this race to the bottom for pricing and advertising more and more to get people to see their items when people search plush animals, TY hasn't had to do this because they've built the brand. People are willing to pay more for a TY stuffed animal just because of the brand. So while everyone are spinning their wheels and it's a race to the bottom with pricing, TY controls its own pricing because it has brand equity. People are willing to pay for that brand. So whether advertising gets more expensive or prices keep getting lower and lower, TY Beanie Babies has control over their business. And that's because they built a brand. So that's my first example
Well, it's
of
interesting.
why
No, but
building a brand protects them.
on the old offline, there was a company. So it was a manufacturer. They made it's called Lexington Furniture, and they literally had the minimum selling price, the maximum, whatever you know, the MSRP or something, the minimum manufacturer suggested retail price. So that was kind of
Yeah.
and they would not, and I think Mercedes-Benz does this as well. They used to do that. The dealerships could not sell below that price. So Lexington Furniture had the same. It was a MLRSP, like the minimum selling price. You couldn't go below that, and that was their to protect their brand. And I think the Mercedes, BMWs, they all have that as well. So their brand doesn't get diluted. And I think the high-end luxuries do that as well. I don't know how they battle this. I mean, obviously, then you have fake knockoffs and so forth. But I like what you're saying, because that was something that was in place pre-online. When online came, it was harder to control, right? For plush toys or for plush for TY brands. But I like what you're saying here.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the first way of how someone who's selling products online, that's why building a brand would protect them, not only from competitors, but also from the platform itself, Amazon, and the increased advertising costs, right? Now, the next example I'll give you is why, let's say let's say you're any company, you're doing online marketing, okay? Now, let's say you're using LinkedIn heavily for your online marketing, your online outreach. You've built up a really solid community on LinkedIn, right? Now, what happens if for whatever reason your LinkedIn page ever got shut down, right? You lose your LinkedIn page, maybe you anger the algorithm, you do something, you lose your page, maybe you get hacked, right? If you lost that page, you'd have to kind of start over on another platform or start over on you'd have to create a new page, right? So if you have a brand, people are willing to follow you from platform to platform. And so another example I could give you is you're running a successful YouTube channel, but you want to move over to TikTok, right? You want to move over to TikTok. If you've built a brand on YouTube, people are willing to follow you onto TikTok. So you don't have to essentially start over on a new platform. You have this brand, people are coming, and you have a leg up on your competition because you're bringing all your community from these other platforms to a new platform.
That's right.
And that's what really strengthens your company, right?
But I think see, there's still that point where the inflection point where you still have zero followers. If you do start up new and fresh. I do remember there was a time, probably about 5-6 years ago, 2017-ish, when I was using LinkedIn and then suddenly something happened, and I was overseas like you, being overseas, meaning you're in China, I was back then in Qatar, and something happened, and I went look for an alternative. There's not a lot. AngelList is okay, but it's still not LinkedIn. AngelList is kind of for startups, and there's a lot of similarities, but AngelList is now, it's really geared for investors and startups to push jobs and kind of, but it wasn't LinkedIn, you know? So what do you say to people? It's fine to say it in theory, but in practice, you're still starting from zero on the new platform.
You are starting from zero on a new platform. But if you have a strong following who they actively want to listen to you, or they're actively looking to interact with your brand, as soon as you start up on a new platform, those people follow you over. And the most extreme example of this would be like a celebrity, like a Kim Kardashian. Whatever platform she opens up on, she's going to get followers fast, right? She's a huge brand identity. Another brand, how about the North Face, right? The clothing line, the North Face. If whatever platform they open up on, people like the North Face, they identify with it. They're gonna flock to that platform and follow and become part of that community, right? So
it's interesting.
The strength in this and what protects the brand, protects the company essentially, is by having a brand, companies don't need to rely too heavily on any single platform. They can exist on multi-channel, multi-platforms, and they have better control over things like advertising spend, the types of content they put out, the type of people they want to get in touch with. So that's how it protects the company, by having this brand.
Well, and to your point, then, in terms of that, the brand, transcending across. You mentioned Amazon, and this is what I heard a few years ago: was Alexa is going to move into. So if people are looking, we'll use your example here. Alexa, send me a plush toy. Find me a plush toy, right? What's Amazon going to do? It's going to go to its, if Amazon owns a supply chain or a company that makes plush toys, Alexa will send you a list of 3 or 4, whatever, right? If you ask for 3 or 4, or if TY Hilton, TY Toys is the top or is already part of Amazon, they might recommend it, or she may or may not. Alexa may or may not. But if you say, Alexa, order me a TY toy, TY Labs or whatever, TY plush toy, you have to. So the brand is there. That's a voice.
Yes, that's a really good example, Alan, and I'll touch on this. So like you said, Alexa owned by Amazon, right? Now, Amazon, so if you're an Amazon seller, let's go back to selling plush toys. You not only have to worry about your competition, but Amazon is starting to start its own lines of so many different types of products. So Amazon might have its own line of plush toys. They go direct to the factory. They have their Amazon Basics brand, right? So when shoppers are moving towards voice search, huge. It's exponentially increasing right now. If someone is using an Alexa Amazon to search for plush toys, of course Amazon is going to recommend their own products, right? They're going to recommend an Amazon Basics product. And a good part of the time, Amazon will have the best pricing, right? Because they have that buying power. So, that's the thing. If you have a brand, you wouldn't be searching for, give me a plush toy. You'd say, I want a TY Beanie Baby. Boom. That's now you protected yourself. Yeah.
So that's really, brands, the brand aware, that really helps protect you. Because then if it's Google, okay, Google, get me a plush toy. Or I don't know who the other ones are. I don't know who the other voice ones are. So there's Google, there's Amazon. Who else has a voice? Who else has it?
Well, it would be like these voice platforms connect to
Siri. Hey Siri, it's Apple,
right?
right?
So Siri connects to Google,
Yeah. Okay. Hey Siri. So it's Hey Siri, okay Google, and I don't even know if there's anyone else out of Amazon. But does Roku have their own voice now? I don't know. Does Roku have one? And so some of these other ones. But that's it, right? The brand recognition. Who's the other one?
So, sorry.
Is there any other one? There's no other one. Okay, there's no. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so that's one way. Another way that building your brand protects your company, right? It protects you. It protects you from your. Well, I mean, once again, it protects you from your competition, right? And Amazon is a rare case where the platform has become the competition for many of the sellers on there. So it's a very strange situation. And diving onto, I guess they're all related, but the third way that having a strong brand can protect your company, and this goes back to selling products, is, for instance, on Amazon, right? You're selling, the cost of ads are going up, it's getting more expensive. Now, Walmart has opened up its own online marketplace, and it's really pushing for market share, right? And Walmart's a big player. Walmart has some power. So
I hadn't heard of that. Is that a new company? I haven't really heard of them.
Yeah, well, Walmart online, they're really pushing for that, right? So if you have a brand, you're going to start up a lot faster on Walmart because people will be looking for your brand, and you're not going to have to pay all the advertising fees that people who don't have a brand will have to pay, right? So by having a brand, it really protects you against the inflationary costs of advertising.
So let's deep dive into this one, because advertising, the space to advertise, the traditional trad, there's in crypto they use DeFi and TradFi. So here we got trad media and whatever it was, a D media online. Like, so you got online media sources, like all the multiple avenues, but you have the traditional now who are fighting for that ad space. So where there's a balance. If it's cheap and eyeballs are there, I don't know, in China it may be different, but they talk about it here. Like, if it's really cheap to put a billboard, go to that space. But I think they're still fighting for the margins because the traditional advertising spaces, billboards, bus stops, newspaper, TV, radio, they're high, they're very expensive in terms of just because they have the infrastructure, they have people. And so how do you balance that, Errol? Because where do you put your advertising dollars if you do have a brand or you want to build your brand?
Yeah, so that's a good point. Now, advertising, right? It's about the cost, right? You don't want to be paying too much, right? So a great example of this is TikTok. TikTok advertising is substantially uh, less costly than like Facebook or YouTube or Google. TikTok advertising is really good right now. You can advertise. There's tons of eyes on there. There's a big audience, and it's not very expensive. But what happens is marketers start to notice, then more people start advertising on that platform, more and more and more, that it becomes saturated, right? So this is what drives new platforms from developing. This is what drives new types of advertising. It's once one place is saturated. So let's say once TikTok becomes saturated, where do we go from here, right? So things also move kind of cyclically in marketing. So before we had traditional billboards and maybe like a poster at the bus stop, right? And we moved away from that. We're very digital now, but now it's kind of moving back to these real life ads, except like a digital billboard like digital bus stops that change based on who's around them, right? Like so it'll change based on the demographic of who's looking at that billboard, right? So that's what really drives the change in platform advertising and the whole industry is where can we still get the good audience without the spiked costs.
Yeah, I guess it's a dilemma. I mean, I see people say, oh, we should promote it. So promote it. As soon as I post on LinkedIn, as soon as I post on mostly Amsterdam, mostly on Instagram, like it's either, do you want to promote this to, or Facebook? You want to promote this? And that promotion is just to a random group of whoever. Like that promotion is almost wasted dollars. I've heard this term. I don't know if you've heard it. Don't spend your dollars, spend your pennies like a dollar, and don't spend your dollar like a penny. Meaning, basically, you get zero leverage if you spend a penny, and it gives you that leverage for like a dollar, or you spend a dollar and it's basically thrown in the bin. You know, they throw that into the trash. Because and Gary Vee talks about that. He says, you know, literally, if you throw on a bus stop and there's only 50 people go across there versus the same dollar you could post and get 50,000 people eyeballs. You know, it's like advertising that today people are still these big 60,000 people are going to be there in your booth. You'll get 60,000. No, you won't. And all the people, you know, your booth, the money you spend for that little booth, that's gone. You don't get the same eyeballs because people walk around and they may or may not see it. They may or may not catch your little booth that you just spent. Yeah.
And that's what happens online. Your dollar goes less and less online. So I remember even back in 2018 bidding on Amazon keywords. So some keywords that for every click I used to pay 18 cents. Fast forward to 2022, the same keywords they cost $1.24 now to get
crazy.
So it's been huge. It's been huge increases, like 12x in the last year or two, right? So for the price of maybe one click back in the day, I used to get like 7 or 8 clicks for that, right? So once your dollar isn't going as far on one advertising platform, it's like, well, where can I take my dollar and make it go farther, right? And right now it's pretty much TikTok. That's the buzz right now. That's where you can get the good cheap advertising and get a lot of eyeballs.
So speaking of that, I mean, YouTube Shorts. I know that Gary Vaynerchuk's talking about YouTube Shorts and Facebook fan pages, but those are just existing, like the Google AdWords or YouTube searches. I don't know. I think that's, you know, using the hashtag Shorts isn't going to get. There's millions, hundreds of millions already. You know, as soon as as you said, the advertisers find that, or they see that there's so many eyeballs, they just up the cost. They up the cost.
Yeah, it moves fast. It moves fast. Like TikTok, it was better last year. Well, it's always better than the previous year, but I mean, it could be economical to advertise today and just be outrageously expensive in a year from now, easily, right? So things move very fast. And that's why building a brand is essential to protecting your company, because once you're, let's say if you're just a product on a single platform, what happens when it becomes so expensive to advertise on that platform, you can't even make a profit? Obviously you're going to have to sell somewhere else. And if you don't have a brand, you're just going to have to pretty much start over. You're going to have to start over. Whereas if you have a brand, you get on there right away, you're going to get traffic. The algorithms are going to like you. You're going to start selling. It just makes a night and day difference.
So I want to finish this off because you've mentioned plush toys. And when you talk about building, Build-A-Bear was a big thing so Build-A-Bear, I still bring that up because it's literally from
That's
scratch.
a great example.
You know, you build a bear from scratch and he or she has no brand, no identity. It's just you build a bear. So building a brand, I mean, you walk into a store and what do you have? You have the main ingredients. You got the stuffing, you've got the framework, you can put some clothes on this bear, you can put a hat with it. So you're building it from scratch. And your idea it starts from you walk into that Build-A-Bear shop. And I know,
exactly.
Yeah. So
who else is offering that service?
Shopify? Yeah.
No one. So that's their whole brand. They offer that whole experience, right? So
yeah,
prices of bears can go up, down, whatever, but people are going to pay for not only the bear, but also the whole experience of Build-A-Bear, right? So they have their brand, they have a cool identity, a valuable offering. They control their own pricing. The market still dictates, but they have some say over what they want to do because they built that brand.
Errol, I think the next episode has to be how to build a brand and taking Errol Vas marketing, like from a marketing perspective, how to build a brand, because we've talked about how building a brand can help. But I think that's one of our next topics is going to how to build a brand from the Errol Vas perspective, because I think it's important.
Yeah, for sure, right? We've identified why it's important. We've given you a big reason to protect your brand. But the thing is, it's yes, it is important, but how to do it. So that'll be the next topic that we cover, how you can build a brand. And we'll give examples of how, whether you're just a small fish or you're a big multinational company, how do you build a brand that's going to suit your business and keep your business safe? That's something
And
that
maybe we
dive
build it
into.
on the bear. We use the bear as an example how to build it, because it's literally, you mentioned that experience. Every time someone uses your,
Yeah, you're totally right, Alan. There's wisdom in their whole business model of, I mean, how to build a brand. You can look at well, we'll get into this next one, but Build-A-Bear, they built a brand through experience, through offering a very unique customer experience.
Errol, this has been fun. Your screens behind you didn't do you justice. You barely can read it. The one, but big one behind you doesn't even have your name. So I've got to say, the Errol Vas marketing brand has failed in this episode.
Oh no, I have to go back to the drawing board.
All right, Errol, have a great week, and we'll talk again next week.
Alrighty, Alan. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. See you next week.
Yeah, bye-bye.